Hello and welcome to the English Podcast with ZIKO. I'm your host, ZIKO, and I'm here with the fantastic Sarah.
Hey everyone, great to be here.
Today we've got a topic that might sound a little controversial. The title of this episode is Stop Studying English.
Yeah, that's a bold title, ZIKO. I feel like some teachers might be a little upset with us.
Maybe, but of course we have a little more to say. The full title is Stop Studying English and Do This Instead. We're going to talk about a shift in mindset that can unlock your fluency.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's get into it.
So, Sarah, let me ask you, have you ever studied a language, in a traditional way with textbooks and classes and just felt stuck?
Oh, 100%. In high school, I took French for years, and it was all about memorizing these long lists of vocabulary and, the verb conjugation tables.
The classic verb tables. Yes.
Exactly. And I could do really well on the tests, I could fill in the blanks perfectly. But then if I ever had a chance to speak with a native French speaker, my mind would just go completely blank.
That is the exact feeling we're talking about. It's the problem with the student mindset.
The student mindset.
Yeah. We think that learning a language is like collecting stamps. If I just collect enough vocabulary stamps and enough grammar rule stamps, I'll suddenly be able to speak.
Right, like it's a puzzle you have to solve before you can use it.
Exactly. It's the difference between knowing about a language and actually using a language. Studying often focuses on the knowing about part, but fluency lives in the using part.
That makes total sense. You're not trying to become a linguist. You're trying to communicate with people.
Precisely. So this leads us to the big idea for today. It's this concept of language acquisition versus language learning.
Okay, that sounds a little academic. Break it down for us.
It's simpler than it sounds, I promise. Learning is the conscious process. It's the grammar rules, the flashcards, what we do in a classroom.
Right, studying.
Acquisition, on the other hand, is subconscious. It's how a child learns to speak their first language. They don't study verb tenses, they just hear it and absorb it and start to use it.
Ah, okay. Because they're just surrounded by the language all day, every day. It's just everywhere. So your advice is for us to become babies again.
Haha, not exactly. But we can try to copy that immersive environment. And that is our very first and maybe most important piece of advice in the do this instead category. You need to immerse yourself.
Okay, so how do we do that if we don't live in an English-speaking country?
Well, the easiest place to start is your digital world, your phone. Change the language setting on your phone to English.
Ooh, that's a bold move. I've tried that. The first few days are confusing, but then it becomes normal really fast.
It does, and it forces you to learn words you use every day, like settings or contacts. Then do the same with your social media. Follow accounts, creators, and news pages that post in English.
I love that tip. And make sure it's stuff you're actually interested in. If you love baking, follow English-speaking bakers. If you're into tech, follow tech reviewers.
And don't stop with social media. Think about your entertainment. What music do you listen to? Try finding some English artists in your favorite genre. Your daily commute can become a listening lesson just by changing your playlist. Yes, that is so important. If you're bored, you'll stop. It has to be fun. Which brings us to the next point. Consume lots and lots of comprehensible input.
That's so true. I started listening to English language podcasts about topics I already love, like history and true crime. It doesn't even feel like learning because I'm just so engaged in the story. You absorb vocabulary and sentence structures without even trying. There's another one of those technical terms.
Exactly. It's about creating an English bubble around yourself. Even changing your grocery list into English or the labels on your kitchen jars. Small, consistent touches that make English a normal part of your environment, not a separate, scary subject. I know, but it just means finding things to read and listen to that are at the right level for you. You should be able to understand most of it, maybe like 80 or 90%.
It really sounds like you're tricking your brain into acquiring the language passively just by living your life. You're lowering the barrier to entry. So you're not supposed to jump from beginner to watching a complex political drama on TV.
That's the goal. You remove the friction of, I need to sit down and study now, and replace it with a constant low-leveled exposure that feels natural, and most importantly, sustainable. Please don't. You'll just get frustrated. Instead, find things designed for learners, like our podcast, or watch a kids show. Seriously, shows for children use simpler language and speak more clearly.
That's a great tip. Or even watching a movie you already know really well, but this time with English audio. You already know the story, so you can focus on the language.
Perfect example. The key is volume and consistency, a little bit every day. You're basically creating that immersive environment for your brain to naturally acquire the language instead of trying to force it in with a textbook.
Okay, so we're immersing ourselves, we're listening, we're reading, but ZIKO, at some point you have to actually speak, right? And that's the scariest part for most people. I think there's a really important point in there about consistency, and that links directly to something that stops so many people: motivation and mindset. We can have all the best immersion techniques, but if we're afraid to try or we give up after a month, it doesn't matter.
It is, and this is the most important part of the do this instead philosophy. You have to turn all that passive input into active output. You have to make some noise. Absolutely. This is perhaps the biggest, most unspoken hurdle. I'm talking about the fear of making mistakes. In a traditional classroom, you get a red mark for a mistake. It's treated as a failure. But in real language acquisition, mistakes are not just okay, they are essential. They are signposts showing you where you need to grow.
So, what's the first step? How do we start making noise without feeling terrified? I always tell my students, you have to give yourself permission to sound silly. You will use the wrong word, you will forget a grammar rule in the middle of a sentence, you will have a strange accent at first. Nobody cares as much as you do. Honestly, most native speakers are just happy and impressed that you're trying to speak their language.
All right, my favorite tip, and it's going to sound a little silly, is talk to yourself. That's such a crucial point. We need to shift our goal. Instead of aiming for a perfect sentence, aim for a successful communication. Did the other person understand your meaning? Great, that's a huge win. You need to celebrate that instead of focusing on the small error you made.
Okay, I was expecting that. So, how do you suggest people stay motivated when they hit the inevitable plateau? You know, that feeling when you've been learning for a while, but feel like you're just not getting any better.
But I'm serious. It is the ultimate low-pressure practice. When you're cooking dinner, just narrate what you're doing out loud in English. Okay, now I am chopping the onions. I am going to put them in the pan. Plateaus are a sign of consolidation. Your brain is just organizing all the new information. The key is to change things up. If you've only been watching TV shows, try reading a simple book or a news article. If you've only been doing listening, try a speaking challenge, even just with yourself. Variety is key.
I have to confess, I totally do this already. I just thought it was a weird habit, but it's actually a learning technique. And tracking your progress, right?
It is. You're activating vocabulary, forming sentences, and practicing pronunciation with zero fear of making a mistake. No one is listening. Yes, definitely. Go back and listen to a voice memo you recorded 6 months ago, or reread a short story that you found difficult before. You will be amazed at how far you've come. That feeling is the best motivation there is.
I feel so much better about that now. Okay, so after we've mastered talking to ourselves, what's next? That's fantastic advice. It's about playing the long game and being kind to yourself in the process. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint.
Use the technology you already have. Take out your phone and open the Voice Memo app. At the end of the day, record a 1-minute summary of what you did in English.
Oh, that's a good one. You don't have to send it to anyone.
Nope, just for you. Listen back to it. You'll start to notice where you hesitate or which words you're missing. It's like a private speaking journal.
And from there, you could maybe find a language exchange partner on an app and start sending voice notes to them. It's still less pressure than a live call.
Exactly. It's about building up in small steps. Okay, and the final technique for active practice, it's called shadowing. And when you do find the partner on an app like HelloTalk or Tandem, it's a good idea to be proactive. Don't just say, "Hi." Be specific. You can say, "Hi, I'm ZIKO. I'm learning English and I can help you with your native language. Could we practice by sending 1-minute voice notes about our day?"
Shadowing, like following someone? That's a great way to start. It gives the exchange a clear purpose and manages expectations. What about when you feel ready to move on to live calls? That's another level of scary for a lot of people.
In a way, yes. You're following their voice. You listen to a short audio clip of a native speaker and you try to repeat it at the exact same time as them. You mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, the rhythm of their speech. Everything is. So again, add structure to reduce the fear. Don't just have a vague "let's talk" call. That's too much pressure. Instead, prepare a small topic. You could agree to both watch the same short YouTube video and then discuss it for just 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. That sounds challenging, but amazing for your accent. Or even easier, you could both read the same short news article and share your opinions. Having a plan removes the pressure of having to think of something to say on the spot. You're just focusing on one small, manageable task.
It is. It's like physical exercise for your mouth. You are training the muscles of your tongue and lips to produce English sounds more naturally. It builds fluency from a physical level, not just a mental one. Exactly. And it's okay if the first few calls are a little awkward. It gets easier with practice, just like anything else. The goal isn't a perfect flowing conversation on day one. The goal is to show up, say some things in English, and survive. The flow comes later. So I think that brings us to the end. The main message here isn't that textbooks and grammar are evil.
Right. Sometimes you really do need to look up a rule or check a definition, and that's perfectly fine. They are tools.
Exactly. But they shouldn't be the main event. The focus needs to shift from passive studying to active using and acquiring.
So let's do a super quick recap of the do this instead tips.
Let's do it. Number 1, immerse yourself, starting with your digital world.
Number 2, consume tons of interesting and comprehensible input.
Start making noise. Talk to yourself. It's officially approved by us.
Haha, yes. Number 4, use voice memos and other tech to practice output.
And number 5, try shadowing to improve your pronunciation and flow.
It's all about making English a part of your life, not just a subject you study. The goal is communication, not perfection.
Couldn't have said it better. Well, that's all the time we have for today. thank you for tuning in to the English Podcast with ZIKO.
We challenge you to try just one of these tips this week. Let us know how it goes on our social media.
Until next time, keep listening and keep using your English. Bye, everyone.
Bye!